Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good, bad and the ugly, and welcome to the madness that is the Charlie Marx Show. I'm Charlie Marx and my pronouns are squibbly wibbly. If you're enjoying the Charlie Marx Show, then please like, subscribe, ring the bell for notifications and follow the Charlie Marx Show. Also, please share, as sharing is daring. You could also leave me a comment, or why not join the show by sharing a problem with viewers' letter, or tell me what's bugging you in the world with the Devil's Advocate. I can also be spied upon by you visiting www.charliemarx.co.uk. So, what with Christmas around the corner, it's important to watch out for all the scams out there, people who are looking to drain your bank. If you want to keep safe this festive time of the con, you could always just send your life savings to me, and I'll look after them for you. There is a small charge, however, and this will be all your savings. Well, better you know the face of the git who's wanting to steal from you. Coming up on tonight's show, we have viewers' letter, plus all the latest fake news from around the world and beyond from the CM Newsroom, plus our special guest, plus Storytime with Sir Percival Homosexual reading the beautifully crafted Adolf's Ambition. And of course, usual moans and groans and things that go irk in the night with the Devil's Advocate. And now, before all the insanity which is the Charlie Marx Show, a quick word from our sponsor. Feeling like you're unimportant? Well, be unimportant no more. The new amazing Rent-A-Stalker from the Winkle Wonkle Company will revolutionize your life. That's right, folks. For the incredibly low introductory offer of just $9.99, the Winkle Wonkle Rent-A-Stalker will have your friends in awe as you turn up at a party and your Rent-A-Stalker is peering at you through the garden bushes. For the ridiculously low price of $9.99, your Rent-A-Stalker will be your company from the moment you leave your house. The Winkle Wonkle Rent-A-Stalker comes in two models: the seedy male sleazebag in the stained raincoat, or the obsessed female who is overweight and denies your existence in front of others. These marvelous tag-alongs will have strangers wondering just how famous or important you actually are. Why not have two and get the special offer of not $19.98, but the amazing price of $19.97? Have your washing stolen from your whirligig. Have threatening emails sent to you that if you don't marry them, they will have committed suicide. All for just $9.99. Don't be alone this festive time of year. Have someone to watch you from the woods. Only available from the Winkle Wonkle Company. Thank you to our sponsor. Later on the show, we have our special guest. But first, let's see if we can help one of our viewers with a problem only the Charlie Marx Show can solve in Viewer's Letter. This week's Viewer's Letter comes from Boris. It reads, "Dear Charlie, some time ago I released an album called Boris the Johnson at the Wurlitzer, and it was hailed as one of the greatest albums to have graced the shelf of Mary's Music Shop. I have sent you a copy, and hopefully, like Kenny Everett did with Queen's Bohemian Rhapsody, you will play it over and over until it becomes a success. Thanks awfully, Boris." Well, Boris, thank you for sending me the album, which I have here. It's fabulous looking album, and it has some interesting tracks on it like Pandemic Party, The Kids Are All Mine, and Bang It in the Microwave Gas Mark IV. Sadly, I cannot oblige, as there is strict YouTube guidelines that prevent me from playing albums that have been recorded in a bedroom. However, I will give you some advice, as I used to be in a band. The best way, in fact the only way to send a demo, especially if it's recorded on vinyl, is not to pop it in an envelope, fold it and squeeze it through a letterbox. I hope this advice serves you well, Boris. Tune in next time for another viewer's letter. After watching the Charlie Marx Show, I wanted to eat his liver with a nice Chianti. Welcome back, my lovelies. You're watching the Charlie Marx Show, and coming up, our special guest, Storytime, and the Devil's Advocate. But before all that, it's time to get a roundup of the latest fake news from all around the world and beyond with CM News. Good evening, and welcome to CM News, with me, Mary Magdalene. Our top story this evening. A sandal thought to have belonged to Jesus has turned up at an archaeological dig in a McDonald's car park in a small town in Jerusalem. The sandal was then handed in to police, who say that they have already had over 3,000 men and 2 women claiming it is theirs. A Just Stop Oil protester was sent home from a rally by his superiors this afternoon for having oily hair. Another similar march in London went ahead earlier this evening by the minority group Just Don't Care. The group of 86,000 walked past Hyde Park to Dirty Derek's bookshop, holding placards with nothing written on them and shouting slogans like "We don't care" and "Don't get involved" and other important things to be getting on with. 5 people were arrested for wearing sunglasses on a dull day. And there's only one result from the Premier League. Manchester United narrowly beat Chelsea. The final score was Manchester United 347, Chelsea 346, with Man United getting a tattoo done in extra time. And finally, young Jack Smith was in hospital last night after breaking his crown. The accident happened on a hill near to where Jack and his long-term girlfriend Jill live. Jill had been fetching a pail of water at the time when Jack fell, and in a twist of fate, Jill came tumbling down after. Both are said to be out of critical condition, but police are treating the event as suspicious. And that was the latest headlines. This is Mary Magdalene for CM News. Good night. Thank you, Mary. More from the CM Newsroom next time. But now, my special guest. My special guest this evening is probably one of the leading doctors in the universe, with at least 3 high school qualifications. Via satellite from an NHS hospital, please welcome Dr. Dunuthin. Welcome to the show, Dr. Dunuthin.
Thank you.
Now, obviously you're a very brilliant doctor and a highly respected member of the NHS, so I suppose my first question should be, how do you, as a working professional, see the future of the NHS?
Well, that's a rather irrelevant question, as you must be aware that the government are putting in hundreds of pounds into the NHS for such important machines as the coffee machine and the snack machine.
And what about fair pay for nurses? Is that included in the cash injection into the NHS?
The nurses were obviously getting far too much money, what with them splurging on such ridiculous things as food and bills and medicine for their children.
What about the shortage of beds? The waiting times are shocking. Doesn't that leave doubts about the state of things today?
We've got a bed. Look right there. You could get a family in that bed.
It doesn't look very clean.
Well, not now it doesn't, as we've just tossed the patient who was in it out. But one of the nurses will give it a quick scoosh with Febreze and it'll be lovely.
Now, you're a specialist. What kind of things do you specialise in?
I'm a specialist in neurological gender.
Which is what exactly?
Well, put simply, it's a scientific exploration into the common gender myth.
Especially nowadays with people believing that there are so many varieties of gender.
Of course. And then there are hundreds of them.
Exactly, and... Sorry?
There are commonly hundreds, perhaps even thousands of genders out there.
But surely as a medical professional you would know that there are only two genders, male and female.
That's exactly what I thought, until I spoke with some experts, and then my whole world was opened up to it.
And those experts were?
A tree called Tatiana, and their non-binary Fruit Loaf significant other.
So, what other genders do you believe exist?
Well, there's obviously the old-fashioned ones you mentioned, you know, male and female.
Ah, yes, the real ones.
Well, then there's He-Man, She-Ra, and the latest Michael Jackson gender, the He-He.
Interesting. So, how do you see the future of the NHS and your particular job?
I think the NHS will run its course and people will no longer need doctors because they will be well and smiley. My job, however, is going to become more and more stable, and with every new gender, I will get a pay rise.
Well, that's all we have time for, but it's been eye-opening. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Dunuthin. Join me next time when our guest of the show will be more controversial. But now, it's time to slip into your pyjamas, get your cosy blanket, throw another weasel on the fire, and curl up on the sofa with a nice glass of wine as Sir Percival Homosexual reads this week's beautiful tale, Adolf's Ambition, in Storytime.
Hello, children, and family who walk about with those fake babies. Are you sitting comfortably with your little ecstasy tablet and your CD of dance floor anthems? Then we'll begin. Young Adolf was hidden by his parents as they were ashamed of him failing his O-level Yiddish. He was put in a train with false papers, a false history, and a false moustache. At the age of 15, Adolf was living with his aunt in a small cottage. His aunt sent him to barbers for a haircut, as today was going to be a special day for Adolf, as he was going for his first job interview. Adolf longed for the job and the chance to earn money and get out of his aunt's home, as he would often be embarrassed when his Auntie Eric would pick him up in her pink floral dress in a Tesla. Oh, the shame of it all. Adolf went to the job interview with high hopes, and he hoped Mr. Himmler would give him the chance to prove his worth. Mr. Himmler brought him into the office and sadly told him that the job of Führer was no longer available, as a Mr. Goldberg had been the candidate they were looking for. Adolf was disappointed and was about to get out of his seat when Mr. Himmler stopped him. He smiled at the young boy and told him that seeing as he missed out on the Führer job, he wondered if he would be interested in applying for another position. Adolf nodded quickly, and this is how a young boy called Adolf Schlepp Hitler became a respected employee at the passport office. That was 47 years ago, and never missing a single day of work except for the Jewish holidays, which made him one of the most respected and brown-nosing employees ever to have worked for the passport office. He was soon promoted to the chap who looks for the slightest mistakes people made on their passport application, causing many people not to get their passports in time. Adolf was a perfectionist and would never allow the slightest error to go through. He specialized in many errors his predecessors had missed, like they were too close in the photograph, they were too far away in the photograph, there appears to be another person in the photograph, the background was too busy, the photograph was too bright, the photograph was too dark, the applicant's mouth was too open, the applicant's mouth was too closed, the applicant had no mouth, the applicant's glasses were out of fashion, the applicant was too ugly, and the applicant is too stupid. Adolf sent passport applications back because the wrong colour of pen was used, the signature went over the lines, the perfume sprayed on the form would not have been liked by the Führer. You name it, Adolf found it. Adolf was Employee of the Year every month for the entire duration he worked there, and his picture adorned every wall in the building and several other buildings in the country. One day Mr. Himmler entered Adolf's small office and told him that he believed it was now time that Adolf retired, as they had no more room for any more pictures. Adolf was saddened that he would no longer be able to work anymore, but he accepted the decision with grace. Most retirees got a carriage clock, but in the passport office they were given a pensioner called Grace. Due to Adolf having dedicated his entire life to the passport office, he had neglected to marry and have a family, and seeing as he had nobody to splurge money on, he had amassed quite a savings bank book. As Adolf sat in the living room, the rain began to pour from the sky. Oh, to get away from this pathetic weather in Germany and those damn hailstones, 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 hailstones. And then it suddenly hit him. Adolf had never been on holiday. He decided that for the first time in his life he was going to go on holiday. But ironically, Adolf didn't have a passport. The following morning, Adolf picked up a passport application form, and after getting his passport photograph, he returned home and quickly filled out the form and posted it. A few days later, he received a letter explaining that he would have to fill out another passport application form, as he had neglected to sign the cheque. Adolf was in a bit of a panic, as he'd already booked his flight to Blackpool and didn't want anything to ruin his first ever holiday. He duly complied and completed a new form, posting it, but 3 days later another letter arrived at his home from the passport office, explaining that he would have to fill out a new passport form, as the birth certificate he sent along with the form was an abridged version, and he would need a full birth certificate. Again he obtained this, but 3 days later another letter rejecting his passport application. This happened over and over again to Adolf. There was a slight reflection in the glasses, his signature was over the line, his moustache wasn't square enough. Adolf was furious. Eventually he sent off the passport form. With some trepidation, he awaited the arrival of his first ever passport. 2 days later he received a letter from the passport office explaining that they had lost his application and he would have to fill out a new form. Adolf was now going to lose the deposit on his holiday, and he was angrier than he'd ever been. He looked at the name of the person who had been dealing with his claim over and over as he wanted revenge. He held the letter up to the light and saw that the man's name was Victor Poland. Poland, eh? He thought to himself as he looked out onto another rainy night in Germany.
And Sir Percival will be back next time with another historical tale in Storytime. But now it's time for another roundup of moans and groans in The Devil's Advocate. Tonight on The Devil's Advocate, I have called my moan Change Days, because, my friends, the days have changed. We now live in a throwaway society, with people getting rid of their TVs and other electrical appliances, so we never see repairmen in dark little shops wearing brown overalls fixing things. These little men have now become extinct, and their shops have become tattoo parlours. Speaking of tattoos, tattoos used to be something only sailors got, but now seeing bare skin is a novelty. It was once tattoos of anchors or the words mum and dad, but now it's symbols and memes. Respect has changed, with young people no longer having any. We used to get beaten up by teachers, and then we'd get beaten up by our parents because we got beaten up by a teacher. Ambition has changed, with people no longer wanting to be nurses or doctors or fire people. They would rather be rich with talking dogs on talent shows. Teachers have changed. They used to be clothed head to toe in jaggedy tweed and be of retirement age from the start of the year they started. But now teachers are turning up to work in a full face of makeup and dressed like they're going out for a night out. If it was like that in my day, I'd still be in primary 4. Prices have changed. You used to be able to buy your weekly shopping, some clothes, go for a night out and buy a new car for 10 shillings. But now you can't even buy a packet of cigarettes for 10 quid. Parents have changed. Parents used to look old, even when they were young. But now it's kids pushing kids in prams. Soon these new parents will be able to celebrate their 21st and their great-grandchildren's first day at school at the same party. Words have changed as a result of text talk. And you need a degree in text talk in deciphering what the hell the letters are standing for. Finally, titles have changed. The good old-fashioned bin man is now the environmental technical refuse collector. You're no longer bald or follically challenged. You do not come from a broken home, you come from a dysfunctional environment. And you're no longer a liar, you're ethically disorientated. Those unemployed are not job dodgers, but temporary leisured. And death does not exist for any of us, as you're living impaired. Thank you for watching the Charlie Marx Show, and remember to like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, share and follow me on www.charliemarx.co.uk. So, until next time, if you're not watching the Charlie Marx Show, you're not watching the Charlie Marx Show.